intelligence from the enemies of Nigeria. Report any suspected vandal to the security operatives. Let us stop vandals before they destroy our collective national heritage, so we can have the Nigeria of our dreams, where there will be light at all times. This message is brought to you by the Nigerian Television Authority, NTA.
Imagine a station where you access information. Think of a station that creates awareness for national development. Imagine a station that prepares you for a bright and greater future. A station for all ages. Documentaries, classroom and television, events coverage, children's programs and variety shows. Always stay tuned to NTA Knowledge on the StarTimes platform, channel 359. For partnership, sponsorship and advert placements, contact us on NTA Knowledge. NTA Knowledge, learning to broaden horizon.
President Muhammadu Buhari is in Marrakesh, Morocco for the conference of the parties to the United Nations on climate change. And back home, Vice President Yemi Osinbajo at the launch of the book on the petroleum sector says the party may soon be over with increasing development in renewable energy. NTA News Panorama will highlight the forthcoming 9th African Art and Craft Expo on our discussion segment. Thanks for joining us. I am Ogwa Vivian Unyedibia. President Muhammadu Buhari is in Marrakesh, Morocco to attend the 22nd conference of the parties to the United Nations Framework Convention on Climate Change COP22. State House correspondent Adamu Sambo reports that the president, accompanied by the governors of Plateau and Jigawa states, arrived in Menara Airport at about 8 o'clock Monday evening local time. He was received by a high-powered Moroccan government delegation led by the Minister of Foreign Affairs and Cooperation, Nasser Bourita. Also at the airport include Nigerian Ministers of Foreign Affairs, Environment, Water Resources, Agriculture, Power, Works and Housing, and some members of the National Assembly, as well as the charge d'affaires of Nigeria in Morocco. While at the conference, the president is expected to highlight the unwavering commitment of Nigeria towards implementing the nationally determined contributions and policy actions aimed at tackling climate change through environmental sustainable efforts. The special advisor to the president on media and publicity, Femi Adesina, said President Buhari will also use the occasion to rally international support for the cleanup of Ogoniland in the Niger Delta and the resuscitation of Lake Chad Basin.
Deep and great commitment to issues of climate change because it affects us directly in Nigeria and it affects the whole world. Like it is said, there's no planet B. This is the only planet we have. So if we don't keep it, we don't tend it, we don't preserve it, then the planet will grow old and die. And when the planet dies, where do we live? You will recall that last year at COP21 in Paris, he made strong statements about the need to preserve the planet and as it concerns us in Africa, particularly the Lake Chad. You will see that since that COP21 in Paris, issues that concern the Lake Chad have been on the front burners. It is expected that he will advance on that same issue. And then between COP21 and now, you also will recall that the Ogoni cleanup has been flagged off in Nigeria. I'm sure he's going to also tell the world about that cleanup and also solicit the hand of fellowship of the world in doing that cleanup.
Mr. Adesina said the president will also attend the COP22 Africa Day commemoration with the theme, Moving from Commitments to Action, with intended nationally determined contributions and African Renewable Energy Initiative. Vice President Yemi Osinbajo says there are indications that the party may soon be over in the petroleum sector with the increasing development in renewable energy. It was at the launch of 3 books on the petroleum sector, authored by the Minister of State Petroleum Resources, Dr. Ibe Kachuku. State House correspondent Jide Onifade reports.
As explained by the Vice President, the deregulation of the downstream sector and its continued challenges, vandalization of oil pipelines and export facilities, the drop in production, gas-to-power issues, and the imperative of local refining and empowering of indigenous operators are some of the critical issues the federal government has had to deal with.
As we move to diversify our economy, we are acutely aware that we need oil to get out of the world. Yet our window of opportunity to benefit maximally from the petroleum industry is narrow.
Commenting on the author of the 3 books, Compendium of Oil Gas Cases in Nigeria, Legal Issues in the Nigerian Petroleum Industry, and the Petroleum Industry Bill, getting to the yes, Vice President Osinbajo says the Petroleum Minister has given more insight into what plays on in the sector.
Dr. Kachuku clearly took full advantage of the rare convergence of scholarship, contemporary experience, and policy wisdom to deliver what are probably today the most significant contributions to our understanding of major issues and nuances of the Nigerian petroleum industry.
Nayari of Zamfara State, Rochas Okorocha of Imo State, and Wale Tinubu presented the books to the public.
The author is a very brilliant and excellent person who is meaning the petroleum industry very, very, very well. And we as governors are going to give him every support to succeed.
We are producing a lot of students in this country who don't help our economy. So we should emphasize more on those critical areas.
We need to revamp our industry, and this book was about that.
We've recorded another milestone, towards the solution of the problems of the petroleum industry.
The inspiration is just to keep writing, and also to be able to show that, over and above whatever else we're doing today, there is life before and there's life after it, and we all have to continue to see what we leave behind. So I am sure lots of scholars will look at some of these topics and develop more books, and we need them for institutions to grow.
Guests at the presentation of the books includes state governors, legislators, members of the bar and bench, and players in the petroleum industry. From the Yaradua Conference Center in Abuja, Jide Onifate, NTA News.
Well, former Sultan of Sokoto, Alhaji Ibrahim Dasuki, is dead. He was the 18th Sultan of Sokoto and deposed in 1999 during the military government to General Sani Abacha. Former Sultan Ibrahim Dasuki will be buried today in Sokoto according to Islamic rites. Meanwhile, President Muhammadu Buhari has extended his heartfelt condolences to the Dasuki family, the government and people of Sokoto on the death of the 18th Sultan of Sokoto, Alhaji Ibrahim Dasuki. A statement from the Senior Special Assistant to the President on Media and Publicity, Garba Shehu, also commiserates with the Jamaatul Nasir Islam and the Supreme Council of Islamic Affairs over the demise of the remarkable traditional ruler that devoted his life, tenure of office to the promotion of peaceful coexistence and tolerance among diverse ethnic groups in Nigeria. The statement further says the president joins them in mourning the passing of one of Nigeria's most powerful voices for peace and unity in diversity, who diligently kept faith with the virtues of the Sardauna, whom he served as a public servant. The president goes on to say that apart from modernizing the traditional institution to bring it in tune with changing times, the late Ibrahim Dasuki, who died on Monday at the age of 93, will be long remembered for his role in the creation of the present local government system in the country. The president pays tribute to his contribution to national peace and development, particularly his significant role in producing the report that gave birth to the current local government councils. President Buhari prays that Almighty Allah will comfort the family of His Eminence, grant the deceased eternal rest, and reward his good virtues with paradise. Moving on now, Senate President Bukola Saraki has inaugurated vocational training and empowerment programs as part of his contribution to alleviate youth unemployment. Abdulaziz Alaya reports that 40,000 youths from Kwara and other neighboring states are to benefit from the scheme.
Inaugurating the first set of beneficiaries, Dr. Abubakar Bukola Saraki disclosed that the skill acquisition, training and empowerment program was aimed at driving the much desired economic prosperity in Nigeria. The program, according to the Senate President, will enable the beneficiaries to become successful entrepreneurs who will in turn create jobs and contribute to national development. Dr. Bukola Saraki, who reaffirmed the commitment of the 8th Assembly to the promotion of made-in-Nigeria products, urged state assemblies to do same by making laws that will make local industries and businesses thrive.
To also look at laws that we can do that will help and create opportunities for a lot of these youth who, after they get their certificate and they start to work, they must look for who is going to buy whatever they produce or they make.
The Kwara State Governor, Alhaji Abdul Fattah Ahmed, and other speakers lauded the initiative of the Senate President, saying the program will take many youths off the streets and make them self-reliant.
With the Saraki Empowerment and Employment Center, more youths will be equipped with the necessary skills to create wealth for themselves.
The program will train 40,000 youths in vocational, business, and ICT skills in the next 4 years, regardless of their tribal or political affiliations. In Ilorin, Abdulaziz Alaya, NTA News.
You can watch this news online via the NTA mobile app, which you can download on your Android device at the Google Play Store or at the Apple Store if you use devices with iOS. Thank you for staying with us on NTA News Panorama. We'll bring you more. We'll beam our searchlight on the forthcoming African Arts and Crafts Expo, plus other reports after these messages. Do join us.
The struggle for independence had been a long and tough one. Our founding fathers and compatriots sacrificed their comfort and even shed their blood. We cannot at this point in history afford to spirit away their sacrifices for immediate but temporary gains of today. Let us emphasize what unites and not what divides us. Working for the unity of purpose with a stronger vision for a better tomorrow. NTA, growing with the nation.
Together, no matter where you come from, no matter your religion, we are one. Let's live together. Let's stop fighting each other. Let us live as one. It doesn't matter where you come from, your tribe or religion, man, woman or child. It doesn't matter who you are. Put Nigeria first. No matter where you come from, no matter your religion, we are one. Let's live together.
How can we develop when we're always in crisis? Families have become refugees in their country. No matter our differences, show some understanding.
No matter where you come from, no matter your religion, we are one. Let's live together.
Nigeria, the only country we can train with remarkable potentials to excel. Let us believe in ourselves and change our attitude for the sake of our country and generations unborn. Let us revive our cultural values, which are our essence as a nation. Let us renew the spirit of patriotism and hope in our dear country. Do not take or give bribe. Be punctual always. No more African time. We can't expect to be global citizens and operate on African time. Join the queue. Insist that people are attended to on a first-come basis, no matter who they are or where they come from.
Nigeria, good people, great nation.
Thank you for staying tuned. The National Council for Arts and Culture, NTAC, is organizing its 9th edition of the African Arts and Craft Expo, AFAC, on Thursday, 17th of November in Abuja. And participants are expected from the 36 states, including the FCT, as well as other African countries. With the theme, African Arts and Craft, a catalyst for investment in the Nigerian creative industries, the expo aims to recapture the essence of Nigeria's crafts industry with emphasis on its wealth creation potential. With me to discuss the upcoming event is the Director General of the National Council for Arts and Culture, NTAC, Mrs. Dayo Keshi. You're welcome, ma. Thank you. Well, we're talking about the expo now. The Art and Craft Expo, it's indeed a marketplace for showcasing arts and craft products. What are the engagements this year?
Well, as you said earlier, this is an expo that brings different arts and crafts from all over the country, because all states are expected to participate. And of course, we bring in from African countries, and that's why it's called an African Arts and Craft Expo. Okay. And many countries participate. So far, we've had entries from about 12 countries in Africa, and they've started moving into Abuja for AFAC. So yes, we are looking forward to a very successful craft expo this year.
Okay, what is the level now, the private sector involvement in this year's expo?
Yeah, definitely as the festival moves on. You see, this is actually, AFAC is a sort of economic platform that has been generated by government to promote the marketing of arts and crafts. So as we move forward, it becomes more pertinent for us to begin to see this economic structure as not remaining a structure as it is. So what are we doing now? We are engaging more and more artists, both from the non-governmental organizations, to be a strong part of AFAC. And I'm delighted to say this year, we have upped the non-governmental organization participation by another 35%. So as it stands today, from our last count, we are having more non-governmental organization participation than even government participation. Okay. The idea is that the real product, to be able to sell AFAC as a product, it must appeal to the private sector, and that's what we categorize as non-governmental organizations, not NGOs for non-profit. That's not it. Okay. So essentially, that is what we are pushing, that as we go along, AFAC will become a product that various people, individuals, organizations, the private sector can buy into. They will see it as a product that they will come there, take up the constructions of stalls, for example. Okay. NCAC will just get a tiny bit out of it because we are providing the space and all that. Then they will do the rest kind of sort of.
Okay, now let's talk about revenue. You know, how many countries are you expecting? You mentioned that they are moving into Abuja already. And how can the expo impact on Nigeria's drive for revenue generation?
Yes, essentially that is what we have to do. We have to get the, private sector to buy into it. And what we are doing as government, as I said earlier, is simply to provide that economic structure and make the product attractive. Okay. So that is what we keep doing with each AFAC. This is the 9th edition. And we strongly believe that with this 9th edition, especially during the investment forum, which is a key part of AFAC, is a colloquium, we are going to discuss the high potentials that are available for any investor who wants to invest into Nigeria's creative industries, arts and crafts.
Now, I want to, talk about you now mentioning potential. I recall in one interview you granted, you said the arts and culture sector is a gold mine in Nigeria. How much do you project that this expo will bring into the Nigerian economy?
For projections, I would say let's turn that around and say, at the end of this AFAC, how much would you have engaged both the private sector and even governmental organizations into buying into the essence of taking over the festival? Because as we go along, with budget dwindling, we cannot kill a festival. So it must have a life of its own. And we are looking forward to the possibility of, by next year saying half is being taken by the private sector and the other half is by government.
All right, Ma, this is the 9th edition, How well has the creative industry been able to package itself to meet international standard? Because other countries are also coming in with their own products.
Yes, the arts and crafts in Nigeria, it's one of the oldest and one of the ones that you would say are the most indigenous, just like you have in most African countries. But you spoke of packaging. You see, the packaging of our arts and crafts really does not necessarily have to be from the producers. This is a job that can be totally taken over by a private sector investor to say, I will come in and I will do the packaging of each of the viable materials that could be sold. Even if, within the arts and craft exhibition, we also showcase state days, where the states also showcase their dances and other aspects of Nigeria's culture. But strictly, it's for the marketing of of African arts and craft. So we focus on that. However, as we move forward, I keep saying, it has become very essential for us to begin to make the product attractive for it to be, taken over. There must be some gains by any investor. That's why investors invest, actually. They must be able to make profit. And that is what we are pushing towards. After this AFAC, we must be able to say how much was made by the few people who have invested, and that will encourage others to do so.
Well, thank you very much for coming on the program, Madam. We've been speaking with Mrs. Dayo Keshi, the Director General of NCAC. The federal government has re-emphasized commitment towards the growth for the Nigerian film industry for job creation and economic growth. Minister of Information and Culture, Lai Mohammed, said this at the opening of the 2016 Film Festival in Lagos. Annie Daniels reports.
Information and Culture Minister Lai Mohammed disclosed that the present administration is working very hard to ensure that its dream of diversifying the economy is achieved. To this end, the creative industry is one of the ways to go. He noted that The film industry has proven itself to be not just a great employer of labor, especially to young people, but also potentially a very high foreign exchange earner because of its international appeal and demand.
And I've seen 20th Century Fox, executives here today. I've seen the biggest, shakers and movers of the industry here today. I think it speaks volumes. And what the need for us to do is to provide the enabling environment for them.
He noted that President Muhammadu Buhari has publicly thrown his weight behind the creative industry to enable it to transit from a creative industry to a creative economy. This, he says, has translated to the federal government having talks with state governments and investors to build high-tech studio facilities that will meet international standards.
I've watched this year alone about 4 premiums, and they're all first-class, films, and many of them have been entered for competition in international, festivals, and many of them got nominated. And this is why capacity building is important for them. They need to be trained. They need to be more exposed.
The Africa International Film Festival is an annual film festival organized in Nigeria. The premiere of Nate Parker's The Birth of a New Nation was the highlight of the event. In Lagos, Annie Daniels, NTA News.
Well, normalcy has been restored to Kwanan Dawaki and Tamburawa villages in Dawaki Kudu Council area of Kano State after a clash between Shiite members and the police. The State Commissioner of Police, Rabiu Yusuf, briefed the media. Sani Basiru has details.
Briefing newsmen, the Commissioner of Police, Kano Commander Rabiu Yusuf, explained that the clash occurred following obstruction of the road by thousands of the Shiite members along the busy Kano-Kaduna Expressway. He alleged that the Shiite members, who were armed with bow and arrows, catapult and metal bolts, cutlasses and other dangerous weapons, attacked the police team, killing 1 policeman and injuring 4 others. Similarly, he said an AK-47 rifle was snatched from a policeman, which they used in attacking them. Consequently, the commissioner said 8 Shiite members were mortally injured and rushed to the hospital, where they were confirmed dead by a doctor on duty, while scores of others sustained various degrees of injuries.
Of course, we used tear gas on them. In the process of using tear gas, that was how they now attacked one of our personnel who sustained fatal injury. And before he could be taken to hospital, he died. And we had no option but to use minimum force on them.
Rabi Yusuf therefore assured people of Kano that they should go about their businesses as normalcy has been restored. In Kano, Sani Basiru, NTA News.
Well, talking sports now, Senate calls for utilization of funds from Lottery Commission for sports as Kenya dominates Athens Marathon. Amanzi Marcos reports.
Plans are on the way to further boost the development of the nation's sporting industry through proper utilization of proceeds from the National Lottery Regulatory Commission. This was the focus of the legislative oversight visit by the Senate Committee on Sports and Youth Development to the Commission in Abuja.
This is another area that if it is well managed and harnessed, it will generate a lot of money for the country.
It's a very fruitful discussion in terms of assessing the budget performance, what we have done so far in anticipation of what will be done in the 2017 fiscal year.
The Czech Republic established themselves as the dominant force in women's tennis after claiming a 3-2 comeback win against hosts France to capture their 5th Fed Cup title in 6 years on Sunday and 10th overall. Karolina Pliskova and Barbora Strikova downed Kristina Mladenovic and Caroline Garcia 7-5, 7-5 in doubles to hand the visitors the decisive point. Kenya's Luka Rotich Lebuon won the 34th Athens Marathon